show and move. I thought that was the curtain open. I go, you guys are going to see how messy that closet behind me is. And yes, I am still in my pajamas with unbrushed hair and bad head. But, you know, as you do, I wake up in the morning and I get out yes, it is a pink case on it. I get out the phone and I'm reading emails about the meetings for today. And of course, these cowards want to try to cancel the meeting they scheduled for Massachusetts. It's the last hour. Let's go through some of this though, because it just makes me want to puke in my mouth. And of course, puking in my mouth is what everyone wants to do first thing in the morning, isn't it? So, of course, Chris Lucchini wants to cancel because Chris Lucchini's involved in some business in his own state. So that's okay, Chris. Call to cancel. You're going to be the of your own meeting soon enough. Scumbag. But I'm going to give it up multiple times to Erin Adams, who is against canceling this meeting. She's on the right side of this. Of course, Valerie wants to cancel it, but these all happened a few days ago. I want to talk about the ones that just showed up this morning. Susan Hogarth, of all people, now she wants to cancel it because it's not her region. And she sings all her own praises about how much work she did in Delaware and how, where's the regional representative on this one? And I want to cancel it. You little hypocrite. No, you didn't do a great deal of work on Delaware. You did some. You were on the right side, but I'm not even on the LNC, and I did more work on Delaware than you did. Sweetheart. And she, the entire LNC, except for Erin and a few other people, seem to have taken the position that Richard Longstreth, I have gone out of my way to learn absolutely nothing about this situation. Susan is complaining that we're in no shape for common sober consideration of the facts. Well, you guys are never in any shape for common sober consideration of the facts. But it says because we've been given no facts. Well, Susan, nothing stopped you from investigating it. Guess what? I know a whole lot about Massachusetts. Why? Because I cared enough to find out, and I'm not even on your LNC. I'm on the members' LNC because most members don't accept your rogue and fraudulent removal of a political rival, just like they don't accept your fraudulent censure of a political rival. And Joshua, you're right. Ken Mullman did most of the work. So for Susan here to be low-key shaming Rich Bowen, like, where's the regional representative in all of this? Where's you in most things that matter, Susan? And then she's going and chastising Ken for not having his thoughts well written out because Ken wants to hear from everybody in a public forum before he does this. There needs to be a public forum. This LNC needs to realize, like, they're acting, particularly Mr. Wilford's attitude and Ms. Epke's attitude, like, oh, this is how I thought my afternoon would be spent. Sorry, precious. When you're on the LNC, sometimes you don't get to spend your afternoons the way you originally planned. Sometimes you actually have to hear from the peasants. I know that can be really, really, really upsetting, but sometimes you do. And you guys need to come to terms with the whole reason why all of these things are happening is because of what you did to me, because you gave carte blanche that it's happy hunting day on your political rivals and you can abuse them any way you wish. And that's exactly what's going on in Massachusetts. Massachusetts is even a more direct waterfall effect from what happened to me. You made your bed, corrupt LNC. Lie in it. And now you're trying to get away from even hearing from the members because it's above you, because you have other plans, then resign. Now, continuing. I don't like that Ken Mullman is now losing his backbone on having this meeting. I have a call into him. I'm going to ask him not to cancel, particularly at the 11th hour. You've had people that this means a great deal to. I know it's a game to most people on the LNC, But to the people whose lives are affected, this is not a game. And they've been expecting all week to finally have their quote unquote day in court. And now all you people are trying to take this away from them at the last minute. Even if just for that, you shouldn't cancel, because you don't play with people's emotions like that. You guys in your little Game of Thrones. And Ashley Shade did send in a response. I've read it. It's awful. If the LNC doesn't go over it, I'll be going over it tonight. She's a real piece of work when it comes to politics. Again, I'll repeat it over and over. I like her as a person. I have a lot of sympathy for the struggles that she's gone through in gaining acceptance and self-love and all the things that she talks about. But I don't like her as a political actor, and she was a terrible chair. And I just can't. Mr. Wilford's just really the pathetic pap that he's putting on the list. I thought he promised to be boring and seen and not heard. Well, we're certainly hearing a lot from him when it comes to not hearing from members. But I love Joshua's last statement here, which I'll repeat. And keep going with it, Joshua. I got on the phone earlier with Rich Bowen with my opinions on this as well. And I forgot my grifting because I'm still in my pajamas and barely awake and barely had my caffeine for the day and haven't taken my pain pill for my broken arm, which is freaking killing me. But Joshua said, if you guys cancel this meeting, I will just hold my own meeting with the LMA people to hear them out. Joshua, if they cancel the meeting and that's what happens, can we have it together? Can we have an unofficial meeting of a couple real LNC members? Please? Hope you're still watching. Seems you guys want to bury your heads in the sand until you're ejected from your seats in May. I get that, but this issue goes far beyond do nothing and you know it. Quit playing sides and do your job. Be well. I would have added one thing at the end there where you said quit playing sides and do your job. I would put or just quit, because these people just need to resign. But if we end up just having our own meeting, I would love it. Joshua, let's invite all of the appropriate players, including Miss Shade, including people from all sides. I think members want to hear what happened. And the Massachusetts tyrants, it's quite obvious which side I'm on. I think Wayne's coming up. He's going to be, what the hell are you live streaming in your pajamas for? Yes, Wayne, I'm live streaming in my pajamas. These Massachusetts tyrants think they're going to get away with this. It's quite the American household, isn't it? The husband comes in, the wife's live streaming, ranting about tyrants in her pajamas. Think they're going to get away with this. But the convention in Reno has a lot more power than the LNC has. The LNC can't interfere in the autonomy of an affiliate, though this isn't an autonomy of the affiliate thing. These whole situations have given me a greater appreciation for what that phrase also means. Doesn't mean you just, there's a lot of problems in our bylaws that I didn't see before that I'm learning a lot of hard lessons. But it doesn't say that the convention can't, quote unquote, interfere in the autonomy of an affiliate. And if nothing happens with this, every single delegate from Massachusetts should be disqualified, or at least have to be qualified before the convention. I'm not going to be collectivist like Massachusetts was, and I almost just did that and caught myself. Every single delegate should be individually questioned in Reno. When I mean questioned, I don't mean like put in the dock and ask questions. I mean each of whether or not they're legitimate should be examined. Because this state board has just tried to rig the national convention with sophistry. It's sheer sophistry what Ashley Shade wrote. I sure hope she isn't going to govern that way. Because if she's going to govern that way, you know, just somebody being in government, having an L before their name isn't magic. I think we've learned that we have a bunch of people running this party with L's before their name, and they are corrupt bastards. I sure hope Ashley Shade is not going to work in public government the way she has in this party government. And because if so, no, I don't want someone in office just because they have an L before their name. I want them to be doing the right thing. And nothing she's done so far is the right thing. And in fact, she's broken a fraud law in Massachusetts. I'm an anarchist. I'm not a law person, but I am against fraud. And the law that she broke is intended to protect donors to a PAC. I love how they keep calling it the Mises PAC. You realize the Libertarian Party of Massachusetts is just a PAC. There's various complicated reasons for that people like George Phillies or Dan Fishman are much more qualified to explain. But she broke a law against fraud. And is daring to say the other people aren't forwarding the mission? How is the mission of the LAMA, the llama, the drama llama, how is the llama's mission, Ashley, being forwarded by you committing fraud? But we'll go over a lot of this in detail later if we end up just having to have this hearing on Joshua, with Joshua. Let's figure out how we can do this so we can both live stream it maybe. Because we do have different audiences. We have a lot of overlap, but we also have some non-overlap. So let's figure out how we can do this. If they cancel the meeting, Joshua, give me a call. Let's wait to see what happens. So now let's get to some of the comments. And of course, remember, all super chats matter. I have to tell you, I probably shouldn't even say this publicly, but I wear my heart on my sleeve, even on my pajama sleeve. I'm getting really discouraged. What's the point of even trying to run an honest campaign when all of these bad actors are trying to play dirty games to rig delegate selection? They're ass mad because the Mises Caucus is legitimately competing for delegates. What they're doing is backdoor shady dealings to rig delegates. What's the point of me spending all of my time and all of this money and donors' money, which I'm going to ask you for again, even though I am getting discouraged. I'm not quitting. I'm just being very, very honest with you. And I'm probably going to do a patron-only video where I talk about this in more depth. But what's the point of trying to do everything legitimately when every week it seems like I'm fighting shady backdoor dealing? What's the point of even a Libertarian Party if this is the way we're going to act? Now, I'm going to go through some of the comments here lest I be misunderstood. And I think I am going to do a very detailed patron-only show on this where I'll really get into my feelings. It only costs $1 a month to become a patron if someone is so interested in what I have to say, though I would appreciate patrons now discouraging that. They want you to set your minimum level at $5. I'm not. I'm keeping my minimum level at $1 because I realize there's a lot of people who are going through a hard time right now. So if you can consider becoming a patron, I'd appreciate it. I also appreciate all super chats. Super chats go to support my campaign. So Kenny Kelly, my arm hurts a little. Sorry to scroll down. Oh crap, I missed. It doesn't let me scroll down. I think I missed one of your comments because it scrolled down the list, Kenny. Oh, I think I can pull it up. Hold on. I can pull up your comments if I go to, I know you don't need to know like the mechanics of what I'm doing, but what I'm doing is going, no, I can't do it. I should have had the other screen anyway, so I missed a couple of your comments. But let me read the ones I can read here. Kenny says the moderates from Will McVeigh and Ashley Shade, from Laura Epke to Crystal Cheney showed they're okay with fraud and corruption to get their way. Yeah, you guys don't even know everything yet that Chris did. But you can bet Mama's going to expose it. A lot of this stuff, like with Ashley, who I like, gives me no pleasure to expose. but I'm going to enjoy exposing Chris Lucchini. And Kenny says, I agree with you. Ashley is great as a person. I agree with you. She is such a sweetheart. I've met her so many times. But yeah, she's functionally a DNC member when it comes to politics. And I don't require my friends and people I like to agree with me politically, which is probably why I can separate these two things. She's like a great Democrat that I know. That's basically how I view her. You know, maybe one of the better Democrats, because not all Democrats are bad. Calling someone a Democrat isn't a dirty word. Neither is calling someone a Republican. Hate to tell you that, some of you leftists. I've got some great Republican friends. I've got some great Democrat friends. I've got some Democrats I really like. And that's how I'm viewing Ashley Shade. The way she's she's a libertarian in name only. Her actions are. I don't judge people because I don't think people are libertarian. I think actions are. And none of her actions have been libertarian. Penny said, I love the LP. Karen Ann, the Republican Liberty Caucus is calling my name. Their statement of principles is a minarchist and constitutionalist heavy version of the LP SOP. The Republicans are corrupt, though. You know that. You saw what they did to Ron Paul. It ain't no better. And they, I mean, to each their own, but the Republican Party will never be calling my name. Complete non-political involvement is where I would go if I lose hope in the LP. And also, you know, you're not a minarchist, are you? You're an anarchist, I believe. So a minarchist document wouldn't attract me. And something heavy on the Constitution to me is not a feature, it's a bug, but that's just me. You obviously would need to follow your own conscience. There is room for hope, though. The Arizona convention was great. And I do think at this point, the LP is turning into a leftist party, and I aim to change that and not turn it into a rightist party, because in 2015-ish, when I first joined, I joined in 2014, it was very heavy to the right, and I didn't like that either. And I was one of the people I'm like, no, let's just be libertarian. And that's what I want now. The RLC is not going to change the corruption of the GOP. We've got much better chance of changing the LP, because at least there isn't a lot of money behind the corruption. In the GOP, you're not just fighting corrupt human nature, you're fighting a lot of money. At least in the LP, we're poor. I mean, that's a bonus. For once, I can give a good reason that it's good that we don't have a lot of money. Hey friends. So cowboy. So yeah, I'm feeling really self-conscious sitting here in my pajamas. So I'm probably going to get changed. And I'm going to do the dad joke. Like my husband says, whenever I say to Wayne, hey, I'm going to go get changed. He goes, don't change. I like you just as you are. Oh, I added a new merch design. It's an already against the next mandate design, because that was my idea, not the National Party's idea, because they don't come up with good ideas. Yeah, and funny, on this screen, I've been watching Game of Thrones nonstop for a week, because that's what the LNC inspires me to do. Like every time I read the list now, the Game of Thrones theme song goes through my head. Except for they're fighting for no power. At least in the Game of Thrones, there actually was 7 kingdoms to rule. And dragons. Though I think there be dragons maybe in the LP. I think I'm one of the dragons, because I've been breathing a lot of fire. But other than that, you know, and the hero of Game of Thrones, actually, at the end, in my opinion, is Dragon. Because he looked at all this shit and he's like, fuck it, I'm just setting fire to the throne. Libertarians against lynching. Serious question. What is the LNC supposed to do with the llama? Hearing criticism but not hearing solutions, may be out there, but can't follow all conversations. I don't think you can propose solutions until you hear what happened and understand it, and it gets all aired out. There are things they can do. I've mentioned that in a couple shows. For instance, as Ken brought up on the list, I'm not saying this is the solution in favor. I'm just throwing out that there are things they can do. They can censure the board of Llama. That is not interfering in the autonomy of an affiliate. And for Susan, all her whining that, it only makes sense to censor people within the party, like within the LNC. Well, you were perfectly fine with condemning Will McVeigh, Susan, when it benefited you in that motion that got gutted in December. Why the sudden change of heart, Susan? Plus, you may not remember because you haven't been on the LNC that long, but the LNC has censored outside parties before. We censored John Moore of Nevada, who was an elected Libertarian, who was the deciding vote on public funding for a sports stadium. So yes, you can censure anybody. We could censure Joe Biden. It doesn't mean, it does any, good. Define good. I think simply saying we don't approve of what you did in Llama is good. Good isn't only meaning like you can point to, well, that made them change this. No, sometimes expressing disapproval does something. If they didn't believe that, then they shouldn't have censored Joshua Smith. But they can't keep their own story straight is what's so disgusting about them. They have a different story for every situation. But there's a lot of other things they can do. One thing they can do, I'm not going to name here because I'm kind of hoping somebody makes that motion. And I'm hearing that somebody may be making that motion. And I don't want to word it badly here and jinx it. But they could also, how do I word this? There's a couple other things they can do that I just don't want to put into wording right now, but just suffice it to say there are several things they could do without violating the autonomy of an affiliate. And Susan's attitude now, with her being the chair of the credentialings committee, and this being a credentialing issue, Susan should be recusing herself from these conversations, because now I'm not so sure I trust her to be convention committee's chair. And I voted for her to be convention committee chair, and I've not regretted that decision, even though I don't like her. Because liking somebody has nothing to do with whether or not they're qualified to serve on a committee or chair a committee. She's got experience doing it. But with her jumping in on this conversation that has to do with rigging delegations, she should be letting her alternate take over here, not her. She is showing an extreme lack of judgment. And Kenny says, I love this. I should, should be a t-shirt. Oh, I don't know how to put comments up here. So, because this is a different program. Kenny Kelly said, Hogarth is what you get when you order Harlow's on Wish. That would make a great t-shirt. Libertarians Against Lynching says, thank you. So I'm hearing 1, gather information, and 2, keep a motion for censure under advisement if circumstances warrant. Yes. And there is a number 3. There's another motion that I'm just don't want to put out there publicly yet, but there is a motion they could do. There is a motion. There's several other motions they could do that I just don't yet feel comfortable saying publicly, but I will eventually. I don't keep silent. But the reasons I'm not comfortable saying it publicly is A, I don't want to give enemies of this motion who may not even have considered it ammo and time to prepare. And B, I don't yet have it worded right in my head. So I don't want to awkwardly word something and jinx it, basically. Libertarians Against Lynching says, looking ahead to the National Convention, what are fair-minded delegates to do with competing delegations from DE and MA and perhaps any other suspect delegations anticipated? Yeah, there are other suspect delegations anticipated. Vermont, potentially. Potentially New Mexico now. You guys don't know the details on that yet. There's another one that I'm not at liberty yet to say. Yeah. What are fair-minded delegates to do? I don't know the answer to that yet. I don't know. I don't know what they're to do. One thing they can't do, well, they could amend the bylaws to allow 2 sets of competing delegations to be seated. The reason why I say they would have to amend the bylaws is because they would have to expand the number of delegates allowed, because we have a capped number of delegates. So they almost would need to create in the bylaws like a llama and a shadow llama, a Delaware and a shadow Delaware. Do I think that's a good solution? I don't think so. I don't know yet, but I mean, that is a solution. They could say all the names of the people claiming to be delegates be put in a hat, and we randomly draw out however many that state is entitled to, with everyone else being ranked alternates. I mean, that's another solution. They could vote on them as a slate, saying we're going to take this slate because this other slate, their board behaved unethically. I mean, the delegates could basically do anything they want. They could, if they want, go eeny, meeny, miny, mo. They could tell them, draw straws. Really, the delegates at convention can do anything. Once we know what's going on, a group of concerned delegates, not a Mises group, just concerned delegates, because that crosses all spectrums, need to meet. There probably needs to be a delegate meeting prior to convention, and someone should probably organize that and ask the convention committee for a room. And if they won't give us a room, get a room at a hotel across the street or something, or meet in the casino restaurant. There probably needs to be a delegate meeting to talk about this. And that's something we might want to organize. That idea just occurred to me. Yeah, or Kenny says, accept delegates that were elected via bylaws compliant conventions. However, let's take the case of llama. That would mean rejecting. It's more difficult than that. Let me try to explain this. That would mean rejecting the llama delegates. But since they expelled 47 people, they've also made it impossible for those people to have a bylaws compliant convention. So your solution would be to accept no delegates from Massachusetts. And that might be the answer. That's another solution that I didn't put in, accept no delegates from those states. So I don't know. And the Cathedral Caucus, Star Works, JBH, they are going to be at the National Convention. I don't know specifically what their plans are. And if they're smart, they'll keep them secret. So yes, I do think me publicly saying everything is giving bad actors ideas. I know some people might disagree with me on that, but I have to follow my own conscience on that. And Kenny says, I have no problem not accepting delegates from llama. It is a very valid potential solution. But there needs to be some kind of strategy. This can't be decided on the fly. I almost had an idea in my own head. I always believe that the bigger states should help the smaller states. And I'm thinking in my head, what could Colorado do to help? Well, we can't seat people from Massachusetts because we don't seat out-of-state delegates. However, I have to look at our bylaws because I wonder if members in Colorado could call a special convention to do a temporary bylaws amendment to give alternate seats to people that especially impaneled Colorado member quasi-judicial committee have determined been screwed by their own state party. I don't know. I'm really just talking out loud. I don't think our bylaws even allow us to do that, or if even there would be enough votes in Colorado to do that. But I think perhaps some sympathetic states need to start thinking also about how they can help these people. We rely way too much on the national party. States could start doing it for themselves. All right, guys, I want to go get changed. I have a lot of phone calls I need to make today and getting ready for perhaps the meeting tonight. But there definitely is a judicial committee hearing, which I've got to find the login information for. If somebody has that, because I've got a million emails. I think it got buried. I'm sure Amy has it. Well, I'll see you guys later, and I'll be streaming a lot today. I just would like to do so with proper clothing on. And remember, all super chats help. Be a patron. Thank you. End of shameless grifting. Bye-bye.